Alright, what up guys? So I have put together my first build of Season 8 in the PTR in particular because the Mighty Throw didn't work out. I haven't seen anybody else upload this particular build, so I'm hoping that I'm the first just so I can say I've done something, you know? And this build might not be at its max potential, but currently it is ticking for about 40 billion damage per tick. So we're doing pretty alright. Now granted you have to get all the stuff set up to do that, but I'll show you guys in a minute. Where it is a what's the name of this guy? Sinerat's Flames build. Using a mobility skill, burns close enemies for 2.7 billion burning damage over 4 seconds. This is the main damage output of the build. Everything else doesn't really matter that much, as you'll see. And we actually haven't taken it through a world tier 4 dungeon yet, but the fact that it hits for billions, it's perfect. It's gonna do perfectly fine, and I'll figure out what its like ceiling is for pit pushing later. But I wanted to go ahead and get the video out now just because I've been working on this all day, and there's one part of it I haven't been able to figure out, but we'll hopefully figure that out later. But just to show the damage, 10 billion, 60 billion, 70 billion, 80 billion, 100 billion, 94 billion, 109 billion, 40 billion, 90. Oh, this thing did an absolute massive amount of damage. Holy crap. Let's see if it does better in groups. Alright. Oh, I hit the wrong button. But it's doing a few billion like this. 54 billion. Nice. Let me go take care of my kiddo real quick. Alright, I had to go do dad stuff. Okay, so before we go mess with the build in the pit, because that's not really necessary, we're just going to do it. Let's go over the build. We use air perdition here. So it needs to be noted, by the way, that you don't do any damage with any skills. So anything that's like your centipede skills do X, yeah, it doesn't apply to you. The only thing that matters is potent, because potent just makes it where you do more damage overall to an enemy per hit, I think. If you hit them once, you do like half a percent multiplicative more damage, twice, etc., etc. So in this case, we use air perdition because we don't need the one unique helm. It makes you typically do like 90% more damage because that only applies to actual skills. And nothing on this helmet really matters. I mean, I guess movement speed and lucky hit chance would be where you want it to be at. I did not bother trying to get like perfect masterworking because this is a PTR and that takes a lot of time, even if you already have the masterworking resources. It's just a lot of work. Also, let it be noted that my Subo guy over here, he doesn't do anything right now. But anyway, here we go. Air perdition for the 60% more damage from all damage. We have Lith in there, and then Q to get the Earthen Bulwark to get our barrier. My kiddo's over there watching TV, super excited. Obviously, Shroud of False Death, which honestly might not be best in slot because there's not very many passives that grant you damage. I'll have to look into that more, but for the sake of the PTR, we're using Shroud of False Death. And the reason I say that is because there's only Apex, I think it's Apex and Potent are the only two things on the top of my mind that actually give you more damage. Oh, and Unrestrained Power. Those three things give you more damage, but it's not like you get a bunch of extra damage from a bunch of the passives. But anyway, for now, we're going to have Shroud of False Death in there. Conceded on the gloves, dexterity, attack speed, and then you want lucky hit chance to make enemies vulnerable. I have thought about using Fists of Fate, haven't tried it yet, but that would require me to get rid of an attack slot, and I just really don't want to do that. Apprehension on the pants. Then we have, oh, did I go through this? Okay, crowd control duration, you can ignore that. That part doesn't matter. That was whenever I had that on there for testing out different boss powers, because there's the one that gives you more damage equal to like 25% of your crowd control duration up to a certain point. I couldn't get that to work the way I wanted it to work. That part doesn't matter, but Mystic Circle Potency is next. Apprehension on the pants. Dexterity, armor, resistance to all elements. You don't have to have armor on here. I have gone well over the armor cap, but whenever I was making the build on paper, I didn't know where it would end up because I was, before I really started messing with everything, I was at 0 armor in World Tier 4. So I just stacked armor where I thought it could be. That's why it's also on the boots. But you could probably get rid of armor here and just crit it on the boots if you wanted to, and you would probably still hit the cap. Or if you've got a higher roll of total armor, because mine is only in the middle there. But for now, Dex, armor, resistance to all elements. Ignore, again, there's not really a utility that matters because nothing about crowd controlling an enemy really matters. I mean, it does. So I guess you would want to put something that... Ooh. Doing this, I just thought of what was best. But anyway. Anyway. Max armor, resistance to all elements, movement speed, lucky hit chance. And we have duelists on there to increase our maximum ferocity because, of course, we're using Plains power. Dex, max life, vulnerable, primary Jaguar, Spirit Hall potency. Spoiler, we use the Jaguar. And then Mystic Circle potency again. Then we have Mani and Uma there because cast 2 mobility or macabre skills. And then you get the War Cry increasing your damage. Over to the amulet, Creeping Death. This is where I was getting at. So maybe it does matter because if you could, the more different crowd control effects are on an enemy, the more damage you do to them. Might be something for me to need to look into, but it doesn't really ruin things for the sake of this video right now. Dex, Apex, and Potent. Apex and Potent are the two. Unrestrained Power works too, but you're not always unstoppable. But Apex and Potent, for sure, those work to add damage. Dexterity, obviously, that adds a lot of damage. Up to a chance to restore primary resource. And Mystic Circle Potency. The restoring primary resource matters because we use the one boss power that increases damage for however much resource you had when you cast something. Or it uses all of it. We'll get to there in a second. And then we have... Oh yeah, we already said we had Creeping Death on there. We have Rapid, because we do want as much attack speed. You want Thrash to go as much as possible. Dex, max life attack speed, Mystic Circle Potency, and then Thrash resource generation. It doesn't seem to be working, that, or Thrash doesn't generate as much resources as I thought it should. Because naturally you should be gaining a little bit of resource just from using a basic attack, right? You're hitting something with a basic attack. It's not generating very much, but it's generating enough to warrant some resource generation. That's the part that I haven't quite figured out yet. Once I hit 50 billion damage, it was worth putting out a build video about because I think that it's a build that's worth playing at that point. And we passed that by double a minute ago. But if you can figure out a way to get more resource, then we're talking. And then same things on here, except for I got bricked on the lucky hit chance. For primary resource, I didn't want that. I wanted some kind of resource gen, but it got bricked. And again, this is a PTR, so I don't want to put a whole lot of time into trying to get gear. So, over the boss powers. Sinerat's Flames is what does all of the damage in the build. Pretty much we're just trying to increase our fire/burn damage. That's pretty much the whole build, right? Or doing more damage within a certain area through the Mystic Circle Potency, or adding a bunch of damage is that way. And Dariel's Flaming Skull is our first modifier. Burning enemies take 40% more damage from your DOT effects. Boom. Definitely want that. And then for 5 seconds after activating your main boss power, all of your other attacks burn enemies for another 2 billion damage. So this plus the Sinerat to really just like amp damage along. Harbinger of Hatred's Volley, that's our second support boss power. Casting a basic skill while at maximum resource, make all nearby enemies vulnerable. That part doesn't really matter except for your first attack. The next part's what matters. Activating your main boss power grants 30% increased vulnerable damage for 5 seconds. I mean, every single time you attack, you're activating the power, so... and then Avarice's Explosive Ore. This is what I was talking about. Activating your main boss power spends all your primary resource to increase the main boss power's damage by 3.4% per resource spent. So this is what we're trying to get this to stack for. No matter what, you're hitting for... You should be hitting for about 15 times 3, so like 45 at all times. And then sometimes whenever you hit that lucky hit chance for resource, it'll proc more, right? Getting 3.4 times 15 is 45% damage, so it's still better than a lot of other options out there. But if I can figure out how to always fill it up, which I might be able to, I have an idea that I might have missed something, and I'll kind of glance it as we go through some of this other stuff and see if I was right. But anyway, there's all the boss powers. Spirit Hall, we do double Jaguar. We want more ferocity for the for the Plains power. And then this is the one that deals most damage. Since we don't care about having all skills being a certain ability, then it just really doesn't matter. Skill tree. So we go Thrash up to Sharp Thrash, so that each hit grants 2 stacks of ferocity. Or every third attack does 2 stacks of ferocity to make sure you keep that up. Then we come down here. Might be worth going for this over here, to be honest. We have some available points, so why not? Follow through doesn't really matter. We don't do damage with it, but at first I needed it to go down through here. There isn't a whole lot of stuff here that's going to add damage, so we've just been kind of flying by the seat of our pants here. We have Vortex just to pull enemies in. Apex, dealing more increased damage to vulnerable enemies, and you double it versus elite enemies. Diminishment, vulnerable enemies deal less damage to you. This part right here could matter because we do use a polearm because it adds vulnerable damage. The rest of them don't really matter. Like damage to elites is nice, but it's 64% there on a glaive, or you can just do 114% vulnerable damage. So, and then we don't need anything with the blocking stuff, so we don't bother with that. But lucky hit chance to make enemies vulnerable. Technically, if you want to put more points into this, you could get rid of it off your gloves. I don't really see a need to do that. The only thing we could really add to our gloves would be like max life or DOT. Neither one is really that game changing. One in a Mirage to get up to unrestrained power. So while you're unhindered or unstoppable, which we do use an ult, that will cause that to add some more damage. Ravager, we just have the 5 points for the passive to gain 3 minimum ferocity, and it just sits on the bar. Don't really use it. It also helps with getting our potent up. Come over here. Armored Hide up to Adaptable Armored Hide. You don't have to go up with it, but again, where else am I going to put points? 1 point into Endurance, which since this is a defensive skill, so it might be worth putting some points in here just to gain more vigor. Yeah, these two are defensive skills, so actually this is probably worth just add some points into that. Let's go here. Patent Guard over here to Auspicious. This gives us some barrier in between this and what's on the board. Yeah, the Paragon boards add some much needed barrier to add damage. We have it into Resilient just because we do have Armored Hide. When we activate it, it'll give us some more life for a few seconds. Many points into Potent. As you can see though, this is your Centipede skills, your Gorilla skills, your we don't really care about critical strike damage either way. Your Eagle skill. So since nothing is doing damage, none of the skills are doing damage, it's only the boss power. None of this stuff matters, which is why we don't use any of it. Coming down through here, we got 5 into Hunter, Exalted Hunter, and then we have Resolution, 1 into Spiritual Attunement and Supremacy, and then we use Vital Strikes to do increased damage to vulnerable enemies because nothing else really matters. Did I get through that? I did. I'm rambling a lot. It's really late. I'm very tired. I apologize. Over the Paragon board, we have Canny, increased non-physical damage because, you know, flames are non-physical. Plus the additional bonus to do more damage. As many as we can get into Canny here. Coming down to here, grabbing this max life. Grabbing the damage here, just like the flat damage. Coming up through here, and then we have Ritual in here for that Mystic Circle potency. Then we come up here, grab this attack speed stuff, grab this resistance wall elements and armor, which we can get rid of some of this now. I don't really have another place to put the points. I guess up here in this resource generation, since we were talking about it, would be nice. I might figure out how. I guess it would depend. It would depend on your individual roles, is why I haven't changed it much. But for myself and 12%, I can get rid of some stuff to probably make it up there. Like I could get rid of some of these armor nodes over here. Yeah, just that kind of stuff. But we're not going to mess with that mid-video here. And again, it would depend on what you do. If you like triple crit or resistance to all elements like I did, then you can get rid of some of this. Like you can get rid of this, you can get rid of this, you can get rid of this. Get rid of that. And like, yeah, 9%. We could probably just get rid of this whole thing here. right? Yeah, 1%. And then we're still maxed out on armor. And then we just 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. Yeah, see, and we just grab all this crap, you know? But again, I'm not going to change the build planner for this just because it would be dependent on your personal roles. This is sapping, by the way. So we have ritual into sapping. When you cast 3 gorilla, jaguar, eagle, or centipede skills with the same spirit in a row, restore your vigor, 15% of your vigor, and deal 30% increased damage. So I guess having max vigor would be, sorry, I know that I'm going off on a tangent, but having more maximum resource would be good because this 15% will give you more, and then per point you get that 3.4%. Boom, big brain. Look at the brain on this guy over here. Boom, giving some of that max resource. But anyway, you'll always cast Thrash over and over and over again, so you'll get that benefit from sapping. We have Wildfire, which gives you increased fire damage. And then damaging enemies with direct fire damage has up to a 30% chance to reduce when your active cooldowns. That part doesn't matter, but we get 16.7% increased fire damage. And this is in revealing. Up to 30%, you deal 30% increased damage to crowd-controlled enemies. And since we have apprehension on, they'll always be slowed when we hit them for 70%, I think. Grab all the nodes, the dexterity nodes here. We come up through here, and this is convergence. So you deal bonus damage equal to 20% of your 2 highest bonuses to damage types combined up to 30% total. This long convoluted way to say you do some more damage. Come with here, grab this non-physical damage. This resistance to all elements and max life over here. And then make sure we grab this attack speed and non-physical damage over here. Grab the node, come up through here, and we have Headhunter in here. And then the last board is really weird. Viscous Shield, so we're getting Barrier to get this extra damage. But what we do have in here is Colossal. Nothing else fits in here. That's the biggest hurdle. So this at least gives us, we have 8 stacks of Resolve, so this can at least give us up to 16% multiplicative damage. Nothing else fits in there. Bane, we don't do poison damage. Consumption, we don't do Pestilent Swarms. Exploit, I mean, it gives us increased damage up top, and I guess with the legendary bonus as well. But this gives us, the legendary bonus from this is the close enemies, and your enemies are close. Exploit. So you'll make enemies vulnerable. You only add flat damage up top, and then the bottom number is the only multiplicative damage on there. So this isn't good for damage. Your centipede skills deal. We don't do anything with the skills. Don't do anything with critical strike damage. Don't do anything with lightning damage. Doing increased damage while healthy, whatever. It doesn't have a good additional bonus to add multiplicative damage. We don't care about critical strike or do skill damage. We don't really need this either. Hubris, innate, where this is not an incarnate skill, and casting an incarnate skill gives you damage reduction. We don't have an incarnate skill, I don't believe, for it to matter. Oh, we have one, but like it's not adding damage. Jagged Plume, we don't do Storm Feather shit. Menagerist, dealing damage with a Jaguar skill. I mean, this one could possibly do it, but it would be a lot of work to get 16% that we already do, and the legendary bonus is only incarnate. We don't do physical damage. Turf, we do close target stuff, but the additional bonus doesn't add any extra damage on here. Talon, we don't do eagle stuff. We don't do critical strike, and we don't do thorns. So I'm pretty sure that Colossal is the best to go in there, is the whole point of this round. I was going to breeze through this, so let's get to it. Did I forget anything? Oh, I did. I forgot one thing. I'll show you when we get there. Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I'm gonna mute up because my kiddo is getting upset. Mercenaries. That's what I didn't show you. So we're gonna want to go for Scorched Earth down to Incinerate Bolt because it might throw another Molotov. But Scorched Earth gives us 30% increased DOT, and then we do whenever we finally unlock it, Bloodthirst on here because it'll give us 10% more attack speed. So I'm gonna mute up and we're gonna run through this, but you know, preemptively, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all generic YouTube stuff. I'll catch you guys in the next one. We will take this build and pit push with it, but for now we're just gonna show how it works. And we saw the damage numbers to know that it is a viable build. All right, easy claps, easy claps. I gotta go take care of my boyo. Look, we can finally add that now. Boom. Thank you guys for watching.